I'm Ethan. I'm a graduate student in course 7 here at MIT, and I'm in Piyush Gupta's lab at the Whitehead Institute.
Hi, I'm Eliad, and as it was mentioned before, I work at MIT Hillel as a program director. I'm originally from Israel. This is the reason for my accent and I guess my love for hummus. I'm a newly father. I'm also a grad student at UMass Boston at the MBA program, and I'm very, very excited to be here. In fact, I wouldn't like to be anywhere else than at the MIT Museum, and both of us as the first speakers for this series. Thank you for organizing it. Okay, so we will start talking about the chemistry of hummus, a little bit about the menu for today. We're going to talk about the MIT hummus experience. This is how the museum found out about us through this program. What is hummus? Because I realized in previous talks that I gave, not about chemistry, but other things that relate to hummus, that people don't necessarily know what hummus is. So we're going to talk about this as well. Ethan is going to talk about acidity. We're going to mention some of the toppings and the relationship between the hummus and those toppings, protein, oil, and water. What comes next to the hummus? So a little bit about the culture. I will say a note about this. In the US, when people eat hummus, they usually dip, right? If it's baby carrots, if it's celery or crackers. But from where I'm from Israel, it's in the Middle East, and over there we scoop hummus, okay? And next to the hummus, there are a lot of other things that complete this as a whole meal. The last three topics are an extra, so if we have time, we'll get to this. So about the MIT hummus experience, I assume that most of you or some of you are affiliated with MIT. I'll talk about the IAP, which is the Independence Activities Period. This is a wonderful time at MIT between the first and second semester, is the month of January. And during this month at MIT, you have all kinds of programs, anything from pure fun to things that are more academic. One of the famous programs is the Charm School, that some of you probably heard about. And I can say that at this point, after 5 years, the MIT Hummus Experience is another major program during this month. I'm totally serious. We're talking about hundreds of people who come every year. Hummus.mit.edu is where you can learn more. 4 major programs that we do during the MIT Hummus Experience. One is Hummus 101, which actually Ethan is running together with an MIT alum named George Kirby. We have a tour to a hummus factory. We go to Tri-Mediterranean every year. We have a workshop called Make Your Own Hummus, where you make funky hummus. And something to keep in mind, we are creative, we're thinking out of the box. I was reading a blog about hummus during the weekend, and someone wrote about substituting tahini with peanut butter. And the guy who runs the blog, he said, no, you can't do it. And I was like, yes, you can. We do it every year. I mean, the winning recipe 2 years ago was a miso soup hummus. It was a fusion of miso soup and hummus. It was incredible. And the biggest event is the taste-off, when the entire campus come and votes for the best homemade hummus. We get the biggest companies to come, and we have JP Licks making a hummus ice cream, especially for this event.
It's delicious.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, I heard all the jokes. Yes, how do you eat this hummus ice cream with a pita bread? What's a hummus ice cream sundae? You top it with olive oil and parsley. I got it. I heard all of those. Another thing that I want to mention is if you guys use Facebook, go online and like the MIT Hummus Experience, because we really see this Facebook page as a resource for a lot of hummus-related topics. Recently, we posted a picture of a hummus car. So it's a car driving around with a hummus license plate, okay, in Massachusetts. So for example, or a recent article about someone named Abu Hummus. He has a son named Hummus, and the father of Hummus is Abu Hummus. As I promised, I'll tell you about hummus, what goes inside. 4 basic ingredients: chickpeas, lemon or citric acid, tahini, and salt. Now, people always say, wow, garlic. My uncle makes this great hummus with garlic. And I said, that's fine. It's hummus with garlic. My aunt, she likes to add cumin. There's nothing wrong with adding cumin to hummus. It's hummus with cumin, right? But those are the basic
So you have to have tahini?
So this question was also in the blog. Someone commented, can you have hummus without tahini? His answer, Shuki Galili, was, you can have pizza without cheese, but I wouldn't call it pizza.
I would.
You would, and that's fine, you know? You're open-minded. Something about the chickpeas. So the different kinds of chickpeas, and ideally, you would use the smaller type. In Israel, the type is called Hadass or Bulgarian. Not sure what's the name here in the US, but what I want to show you over here is the difference in the size. Okay, so the big one is what we have here in those cans. This is what you would use when you make, for example, chana, which is an Indian dish, or any cooking with chickpeas. Ideally, if you can get the smaller ones, this is what you would use for the hummus paste, okay? But I understand that it's hard to find it, and we actually today are using the canned, and that's okay as well. A little bit about the measurement. You see, one is the bigger one, two is what we would like to use ideally, and we have the coins next to it so you get an idea about the size. So a little bit about the process. And here is what sometimes people don't like. People like numbers. So how much chickpeas you put, and how much tahini you put, and how much lemon you put, how much salt you put, and if you want to add anything else. That's good. But after you make hummus, you realize that you feel it. And you might like to add a little bit more of something and a little bit less of something else. And that's part of the experiment, right? But a little bit about the basic of making hummus and about the process. You mash the chickpeas in a food processor or in a blender. If you cook your own chickpeas, cook them all the way until they're very, very, very soft. A trick to make them softer in a shorter time is to add baking soda. That's what they do in factories and in restaurants. Add a little bit of water, just enough so the machine will actually work, okay? Mix the rest of the ingredients either in a bowl or in the blender, and you can top with olive oil, etc., and eat it with a pita bread. And now, Ethan?
So before we go on to the demo, I wanted to raise one issue. So in this case, we're using citric acid, but most people will use lemon juice. And if you think about when you add lemon juice to water, lemon juice is about pH 2. So to take a liter of water and bring it to pH 5 would only take about 10 milliliters or less than half an ounce of lemon juice. So when we make a quantity of hummus that's a lot less than a liter, why does it take several ounces of lemon juice to bring the pH down to 5? What we see is that there's actually buffering capacity with the chickpeas because of the proteins. And so especially histidine residues, when you add a lot of protons to solution, they'll suck up the extra protons, preventing the free concentration of H plus in solution from going too high. And this is the reaction that actually happens. When you add the lemon juice or the citric acid, you have free protons that are then sucked up with the histidine here. And then so another issue you have is if you actually buy tahini paste, when you buy tahini paste, there's actually two layers. There's a solid layer and then a very, very thick layer of oil.
With peanut butter.
Just like peanut butter. You can't really see it here too much, but there's a layer of oil right on the top here. And if you mix this oil with the chickpeas, why can you actually form something that doesn't separate into layers? You'll add oil on top later, and it'll stay as an oil layer. But when you've fully blended it for a long time, it will stay as a single suspension, emulsion. Why is that? So I guess the first issue is why do oil and water actually separate? And this is for entropic reasons. What you find is that when you have a substance that is very hydrophobic, it's surrounded by a cage of water. So here you see water in a very ordered ice-like stage around this hydrophobic lipid molecule. And molecules don't want to be that constrained. They want to be moving around a lot, and if they're so constrained, they would rather be in two separate phases where they can move completely within the phase than be locked into this configuration. So you'll have a separation into oil and water. But what we actually find is that it's the proteins in the chickpeas that help to form an emulsion. Because with the little bit of lemon juice, which helps to cause a little bit of unfolding, and the hydrophobic and hydrophilic residues, you end up having, so you can see that there are hydrophobic and hydrophilic residues, ones which are very good with reacting with water, or interacting with water here, and ones that are mostly just side chains that aren't as good for interacting with water, that are just carbon-based here. And so the ones that are hydrophobic will interact with the oil in the tahini, and the ones that are hydrophilic will end up interacting with water. And on a single molecule, you'll end up with associations with both the oil and the water. So it'll help bring the two phases together because it's acting as a single molecule. And for medium to long term, it will keep this as a stable mixture, an emulsion. One other aspect I wanted to talk about was taste. So traditionally, you think of the four tastes you were taught in school, that there's sweet, there's sour, there's salty, and then there's bitter and spicy. But it actually turns out in the last 20 years, they've discovered that there's a fifth taste. It's known as umami. And what this is recognition of amino acids. So there are certain receptors that can bind to amino acid side chains, primarily glutamine. And this will taste meaty, and this will taste savory, meaty flavor, which is why a lot of manufacturers will add MSG to their products, because it's just the glutamine and it'll give it a stronger flavor. And it turns out you don't need meat to have glutamine. You don't need this meat for this meaty flavor. You can actually get it from chickpeas and other proteinaceous material. So chickpeas are really high in glutamine and other amino acids, and then just they add this fifth element. So to summarize, you see that hummus is salty from the added salt. It's savory from the glutamine in the chickpeas. It's sour from the lemons or the citric acid. And it's spicy from many of the common toppings. A lot of people will add a garlic or some kind of spicy oil to the top. And then when you eat it with a pita bread, which is high in carbohydrates, that gives a sweet quality. If you just eat a very good pita bread on its own, it should taste sweet. And so by having all these 5 flavors combined, it leads to an amazing taste experience.
And I think it takes me back to something I said in the beginning about the difference in culture between, say, the US, where people dip, to Israel or the Middle East, where people eat hummus as a meal. You actually eat a bowl of hummus with a pita bread. Traditionally, people work in more of labor jobs. You know, say if you work in the field, or if you work in construction, you would wake up early in the morning, right? Many times because it's hot outside, you want to use the hours where it's a little bit cooler. You'll eat a bowl of hummus, and you'll be full for quite a few hours until you add your next meal. So traditional toppings that goes next to the hummus, fava beans, whole chickpeas, tahini. So taking a tahini, mixing with water, maybe some garlic, salt, and pepper. And I'm sure some of you at least saw tahini as a spread or like liquid, and you put it on top as well. It's like, that's the little puddle that you see over there on the left bottom side. Pine nuts, mushroom, meat, parsley. This is an ass missing over there. Olive oil. sometimes hard-boiled egg, garlic, hot sauce, name it. I use this slide actually for another presentation that I give. I give a presentation to students that go to Israel for a summer internship. And I talk with them more about the cultural aspect and about evolution of hummus in Israel. And what I like, I talk about all the traditional topics, and then I say, you know, in some places in Israel nowadays, when hummus is a little bit different, also the toppings are a little bit different. So you will see, for example, sprouted beans or even artichoke on top, or all kind of funky ingredients. But those are considered more of the traditional. There's a place, I'm originally from Haifa, Israel. Haifa is in the north part of Israel. And there's a restaurant that I always go to eat hummus. It's literally like a family. And when I come over there, the menu is very limited. They serve literally only hummus with, I think, 4 different toppings. So they know that I eat with whole chickpeas. I come, I see it, it's not even a question. They bring it to the table. They know exactly what I like to eat. Other things that are next to the hummus, if it's Israeli salad, anyone knows what goes into an Israeli salad? Cucumbers and tomatoes and onion. And there can be a lot of other things. People might add some lettuce or even parsley sometimes. I'm afraid to shred carrots inside. It's very, very rich with lemon juice and olive oil. That's our, I guess, salad dressing. Much better than salad dressing you find other places. Falafel bowls, French fries, which we call them chips in Israel. Tabbouleh salad, pickles, olives, sliced tomatoes. Bread, if it's a whole wheat, which is more of the last few years, it became more trendy to eat with whole wheat, or just white. So this was before, and this is after. I mentioned fava beans. So you take the fava beans and you cook them for a very, very long time, and you get this smoosh that you put on top. I mentioned the hard-boiled egg. You cook it for overnight, and it becomes brown. And something that people like to eat with it. Here's the falafel bowls that are, and my favorite, as I said, is whole chickpeas with olive oil on top. Can't go wrong.
And then just, this is something I found very interesting, is that a lot of common pairings of foods are actually complete. So it turns out that humans can't make, and a lot of mammals, and a lot of organisms can't make all of the amino acids they need to survive. And so this is from Wikipedia. The left here are the essential amino acids, ones that we cannot make and that we need to get from our diet. And it turns out a lot of common pairings, such as beans and rice, are complete in that they contain all of the essential amino acids you need. And hummus, with a couple of the toppings, and pita make a complete, an essential mix. It's complete in all of the amino acids.
Hummus in the United States is a very small part of our diet. I mean, you go into a supermarket, and you got to go looking for hummus.
So a little bit about numbers. What this gentleman said is that you don't find much hummus in the supermarkets in the US, right? It's a small part of the diet. Yeah. So, a little bit about numbers. First, Israel. The highest consumption of hummus per capita, Israel. Yeah. Why do I mention Israel? Let's now talk about the US. And the market that grows the most in the world when it comes to hummus is the US. Now, I mentioned in the beginning the MIT Hummus Experience. This year, the head marketing of Sabra, which controls over 50% of the hummus market in the US, said that he wants to come. What is this MIT Hummus Experience? And he came all the way from Texas. We had a nice conversation. And he said, I'll tell you something, you'll be very, very surprised, right? It's a growing market. You see much more hummus nowadays than, I would say, 10 years ago, right? Still, only 18% of Americans ever tried hummus. Huh. For them, it's amazing, amazing business opportunity. amazing. I mean, I would probably assume that some areas such as Boston or New York, you probably have more people who are exposed to hummus, but in other places in the country, that's not part of the diet. But there's so much potential over there, and it's already, as I said, the market grows the most in the world. There's more and more companies. As I should mention it, Sabra is actually an Israeli company. It's owned by Strauss, which is owned by PepsiCo. So it's Israeli, but part of a global, huge company. Tribe Mediterranean, which controls 12%, and their factory is in our south. It's in Tanton, Massachusetts. They are owned by Osem. It's another Israeli company, which is owned by Nestle.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Are chickpeas considered a legume, a vegetable, or what?
It's a legume. It's a legume. Those are beans.
It's a bean.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And you bring up something very interesting. So one of the companies that come, and you mentioned before, thinking out of the box, right, different toppings. It's all about, that's the MIT hummus experience. I mean, that's MIT, right? Mm-hmm. This year, for the first time, we had a company that makes hummus which is not made out of chickpeas. They use, for example, white beans. Now, the other companies, they took me aside and said, Eliad, we have to tell you, hummus, according to the definition, is made out of chickpeas. They should not be here. They're there. And the guys, by the way, that started this company, it's Eat Well. That's the name of this company. One worked for Sabra hummus. The other one worked for Tribe. No. And they formed their own company. A side note, they got the idea from Trader Joe's. They walked into Trader Joe's. Someone gave them a white bean hummus to try. And they said, this is pretty good. There's a market over here. Some people say are allergic to chickpeas. So maybe some beans have a higher percentage of protein. So they open it, and they're doing extremely, extremely well, those guys.
So was it a navy bean or just a white bean?
Yeah, so if you go to the Cheesecake Factory, for example, their hummus is not made out of chickpeas. Their hummus is made out of white bean. Whether it's navy bean or not, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for,
Yeah? Okay. So I'm not getting into this, illegal aspect of whether you can call, sparkling wine, which is not made in Champagne, France, a champagne, and if you can get, hummus, which is not made out of chickpeas, a hummus. But people do it. Yeah.
Trader Joe's also has it made out of soybeans. It's a lovely, delicate green color and a delicate taste.
Right. Huh. They're very creative. They have also guacamole hummus. Interesting. A lot of good stuff. Really, I like it. Let's make some hummus. Yeah. You guys okay with it? So I know people do one measurement. More or less 2.5 cups of cooked chickpea. We just put 2 small cans. It's more or less this, maybe a little bit more. It's okay. And as I said, with the liquid, we use now the liquid from the can. If you cook, you can use that liquid. You can use mineral water, regular water. It's all this. It will work. Don't worry. I'm going to use liquefy because I want it to be as smooth as possible.
Should I add more water?
I will help it a little bit. Okay. I'll also mix it a little bit. I put just enough water. Actually, now we have a little bit more, but we had chickpeas. We want to make sure it's not going to be a soup. Yeah. Okay, that's something to keep in mind. And depends on how good is your food processor. This blender is not the best. So if sometimes you need to help it a little bit, but it's not strong enough.
Well, I'm going to
Yeah. And also about consistency, some people like it chunky. I mean, it's a matter of choice. Looks good. So now we're going to add the tahini. If you can mix it a little bit before you. You know, if hummus is so simple to make, why is one hummus better than another? It's the ratio of the ingredients that you use. Some people really like a lot of tahini. Some people don't like it as much. The correct chickpeas and how fresh the chickpeas are. Some people will say, you know, it depends where the chickpeas grow, which people, it's like, I guess, with wine, right? If wine is coming from a certain region. The type of tahini, yeah, that's more or less. And I said that in addition, it's a lot about the olive oil. How good is the olive that you do put on top? I actually like olive oil with a strong taste, which sometimes is not considered as gourmet, but I think it adds a lot to the hummus. And the pita bread, obviously. So this measurement, I don't know, use half a cup or say somewhere between a third of this or half of this. It's, as I said, it's not rocket science. If you want real exact measurements, do it once or twice, write down, this is the way you like it. And
Go to the Hummus Experience website.
Yeah, actually that's true. On the MIT Hummus Experience, we have the recipes only of the winning hummus. The best part is that Cedars, we're one of the hummus companies, is making the winning recipe as a special edition. So this is actually not salt, it's a citric acid. I usually use either citric acid or lemon at home, lemon juice.
Can you tell the difference? I
can tell the difference, yeah. But when you buy hummus either from a factory, also we used whole sesame, so it's a little bit darker, and it's about health. I personally think that the regular sesame tahini tastes better, and it's the same like, you know, with the white and brown rice. Some people. So we're gonna mix it well, and we're gonna give you guys to taste. We'll put it a little bit in each cup, and we'll make more later if you want. It's plenty. So I will teach you a word in Hebrew, which is humusia. So please say humusia. Humusia. And humusia is a hummus place. It's a place that literally sell only hummus, or mainly hummus. Now, if you go to New York, the hummus place is what we call humusia. They might have, you know, one or two more dishes, but it's mainly you go there for the hummus. So again, we eat the hummus with the pita bread, with the whole pita bread. I will take a piece of paper, let's use this, to demonstrate how you eat. So again, it's a bowl of hummus. Well, not as big as this, but quite a bowl, such as a soup bowl. And you hold the pita bread, and your goal is to get as much hummus with the pita bread, right? There are two versions. One is straight line, duch, so you do like this and eat. Or the professionals, they eat besivuv. They eat like this. So this is how you eat. This is how you eat hummus. You scoop hummus. You see my friend eating over there, and he seems to be quite happy. Some more pictures of hummus and stuff that goes next to it. Beautiful olives, some hot sauce, a bowl of falafel and onion. And this is I was walking in Providence, Rhode Island, when I hear kids band with, you know, singing and a lot of kids, and I hear, and then you mash it, you mash it, you mash it, mash it, mash it. They move to the second chorus. You add to the tahini, to the chickpeas, and then you mash it, you mash it, and the kids are jumping. I bought their album, Time for Hummus, by Roly Poly Guacamole. So, and I think that we'll finish on this note. So thank you for coming. We'll take questions, please. So the question is, are there any countries around Israel or in the Middle East that are also obsessed with hummus?
Yes.
Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, also not as much. Not Egypt, by the way. The Egyptians, they eat fava beans. That's like literally their breakfast, and I joked it's also their lunch and dinner. They eat a lot of fava beans. So just about Lebanon, the guy who started Eat Well, Enjoy Life, the hummus from other beans, right, other bean hummus, is responsible for a hummus war between Israel and Lebanon. So this is what this guy did. He was a marketing guy, and he actually worked for the Sabra in Israel. And he said, it's going to be a food show, and I have to come up with this idea. I have to do something different. So he took a kiddie pool, and he put hummus inside. He made it into a hummus bowl, and it was the biggest hummus bowl in the world. Then the Lebanese were like, what? We'll show you. We'll make a bigger one, right? So they made a bigger hummus bowl. Then an Israeli Arab, who actually was a businessman here in the US, said, I'm coming from this little village next to Jerusalem, which is known for hummus. It's the Mecca of hummus in that area. So he sponsored a bigger hummus bowl. He used actually a satellite dish. The Lebanese were like, okay, we will show you. And they made a bigger one. And as of today, they hold the Guinness World Record for the biggest hummus bowl. By the way, Hummus 101, this blog, they made fun of this, and they had the smallest hummus bowl in the world. And they made a little hummus bowl the size of, I guess, a bun. Kind of cute. Israelis took hummus to really a different degree. The highest consumption is in Israel. It's ridiculous. Any other questions? Okay, so thank you. We can make more hummus if people are interested. Just come forward and we can run another batch.